Hey guys, this is Mrs. Frazier, and I am going to be going over your slope-intercept, your y equals mx plus b foldable. So when you have already cut out your foldable, you are going to stack them from the largest rectangle to the smallest rectangle. So you'll have your example, and then your b, and then your x, and then your m, and then your y. And then you can go ahead and pause this video right now to get to where you need it to look like this. And we're going to staple over here on the left side. So go ahead and pause the video so that you can get that done. Okay guys, so my foldable's all finished. You can see it's there. It is folded on the left side. I'm trying to scroll down. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go through the foldable and look at the different pieces. And now all of these pieces you know, except for B. This is the only thing that's new to you. Okay, so far we've looked at y equals mx for direct variation, and m, we know what that is, and we know what y is, and we know what x is. So now we're just breaking it down and putting it all together. So today we've introduced B, or your y-intercept. Okay, so this is just a little foldable, and yours is pink. That you're going to put in your notebook, okay? So slope-intercept equation is y equals mx plus b. Sometimes you might see it as b plus mx, okay? But your slope is always the m. It's the coefficient to x. Your b is always your constant. It's the number that is there to start. It's your starting point, or it is the extra fee or something along those lines. When we were doing chunky chairs, it was the constant, it was the thing that wasn't changing. So it was the seat, and the building houses, it was the house, and it was the chimney that was changing, and the house was staying the same. So keep those things in mind when you're talking about y-intercept. Okay, so if you open up, we're just going to take each piece to recognize what each piece is. So first I have y. Okay, and y is my dependent variable. We've already talked about this a little bit when we were doing direct variation. We have to know what depends on the other thing. Okay, so what is the thing that is actually changing? What would go on your y-axis? This is called my dependent variable. It's my output as well. Okay, so you may recognize that term from input and output tables. Okay, the next thing we have, so we'll make that one purple. I like to color code things. You can kind of make yours colorful as well if you'd like. Okay, so the next piece we have is M, and we already know M. We know M as our slope, or our rate of change. Okay, so we're going to open up here, and the reason why I put that on the inside is because there was really no space. So slope's going to come over here. Okay, M is my slope. Or it's my rate of change. It's change in y over change in x. And we can use the slope formula for it as well. So it's also y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Okay, so none of that's changed. This is all things that you already know. Okay, and we take our slope and we multiply by our input, which is our x. Our x is our independent variable. Okay, and this our x is our independent. So this is the thing, like often this is time. Sometimes it's days. Anything that has to do with time is normally an independent variable, but it is what's increasing while it is causing the other to increase. So this is my independent variable. Okay, we also call this our input. Okay, we can plug in any x to find y. Okay, so we can plug in any x to find y. Okay, so let's go on. Let's go to the new piece. Our new piece is b. Okay, b is known as our y-intercept. People always ask me why it's labeled B, and I never have an answer for that. So maybe your teacher has an answer for that. I don't know why we call it B, but it's where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, that would be my y-intercept. So think of like when a ball intercepts, when you intercept a ball. So it's where you catch the ball from another team. That's the same as a line on a graph. When it intercepts or crosses the y-axis, that is called my y-intercept. And at my y-intercept, my x value is always 0. So I'll have 0 and then I'll have a y value. Okay, so that's what you'll always see for your y-intercept. Okay. And this is also why we call this our starting point or our starting phi, because when x is 0, which is at the beginning or at the middle of, kind of at the middle of my graph, or right there where the x and the y-axis cross each other, my y has a value, but my x is at 0. So that's also why we call it the starting phi or the beginning. That's just kind of keywords for to help us remember what the y-intercept is. Okay, so let's just look at a basic example. So we're not even introducing any situations yet. We're just looking at a graph. Okay, so if I have a graph here, we should be able to see all of our different pieces on our graph. Okay, so the first thing that I notice, and I'm going to color code like we saw before, is where my line is crossing the y-axis. And that's my y-intercept. So we're going to say b equals -3. Okay. Can't remember what I used. Oh, pink. Okay, pink for slope. So the other thing I can find from this graph is my slope. Okay. And I know my slope is change in y over change in x. So the change in my y here from one point to another point, it's going from -3 to -1. It's going up by 2. So that's the change in my y. And the change in my x is 1, plus 2 and 1. So I have 2 over 1, which can just simplify to 2 for my slope. Okay, so I'm going to write this in y equals mx plus b. So that means y equals 2x minus 3. And you can see where all the pieces are. My y-intercept is right here, and we just make it a -3 since it's a negative number. And my slope is right here. It's the coefficient to x, just like it was before, 2x minus 3. And you can see them on the graph and how you can get those from the graph as well. Okay, so you're going to be doing some practice today, just identifying your slope and identifying your y-intercept, where they're located on the graph, where they're located here in your equation as well, and where that comes from. Okay, so make sure that you glue this in your notebooks when you have finished.